Tucked away in the Uinta Basin of eastern Utah lies a stretch of land that defies reason. Known as Blind Frog Ranch, this 160-acre property has garnered attention not for its vast beauty or mineral riches, but for what lies, or doesn't lie, beneath it. Beneath the cracked earth, between groves of gnarled juniper and the winding paths of dry riverbeds, the land holds secrets. Voids, spaces that should be filled, but are not. Hollows that behave not just like natural caverns, but like portals to riddles never solved. From above, the ranch looks like any other in the rugged west. Dusty trails crisscross rugged hills, outbuildings sit scattered like ancient watchtowers, and fences weave the terrain like scars. But maps and satellite scans reveal oddities, cavities, discontinuities in geological layers. Something unnatural is at work in the bones of Blind Frog Ranch. The search for these voids began as a practical venture. The property's owners were drawn by whispers of buried treasure, Spanish gold left behind by conquistadors fleeing north. The legends were thick with shadowy figures, cursed tunnels, and hidden chambers. Yet what they found far exceeded even those lofty fables. Ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR scans unearthed more than just hopeful spots to dig. They uncovered a lattice of subterranean anomalies, patterns in stone that no seismic record could fully explain. A technical team was brought in to map the voids more precisely. With each new pass, their machines revealed more questions than answers. Voids appeared where dense rock should lie. Some were shaped like narrow shafts, unnaturally straight, while others resembled rooms, almost architectural in form. The natural world rarely builds square corners or perfectly level floors, and yet, here they were, hidden chambers beneath untouched wilderness. One formation in particular stood out. Dubbed the Vault, it was buried nearly 30 feet beneath a thick shelf of sandstone. Initial readings show a symmetrical cavity roughly the size of a small apartment. Attempts to drill into it were met with an inexplicable resistance, not mechanical, but magnetic. Tools failed. Batteries died. Metal instruments heated unnaturally fast. And when they finally broke through, a rush of pressurized air escaped that carried with it a smell of deep earth, old, damp, and oddly metallic. Inside, however, there was nothing. The cavity was real. It was precisely the shape their scans had indicated. Yet it was empty. No artifacts, no signs of habitation, just smooth walls and silence. That silence was, perhaps, the most deafening part. In the heart of the vault, sound behaved differently. Echoes bounced wrong. Words spoken outside couldn't be heard within. Microphones malfunctioned and compasses spun. Theories began to take root like weeds. Some suggested it was the result of ancient volcanic activity, a gas pocket, hardened and sealed over millennia. Others posited a more human explanation. Perhaps early miners or indigenous peoples had carved these spaces for unknown rituals or storage. But the geological strata showed no signs of intrusion, no drill marks, no evidence of tools. If this was the work of man, he had left no fingerprint behind. The search for more voids became an obsession. Scans expanded. The ground seemed to pulse with hidden spaces, some as large as ballrooms, others no wider than crawl spaces. Many were inaccessible. One was entirely submerged in a muddy sinkhole, and even a robotic drone sent to explore it disappeared without explanation. What emerged from these explorations wasn't a map of a treasure trove, but something stranger, a void network, stretching beneath the ranch like an invisible city. And yet it defied the logic of infrastructure. Tunnels didn't connect logically. Some led into dead ends. Others twisted upward at impossible angles. One void was suspended within a larger mass of rock, with no apparent entry point. How could a hollow exist completely sealed, surrounded by unbroken stone? Curiously, animals reacted to the voids. Cattle refused to graze near certain depressions in the earth. Dogs barked at spots that appeared normal to the human eye. On more than one occasion, birds were seen circling specific areas of the ranch, only to flee as though frightened by an unseen force. Scientific instruments, too, were affected. Magnetometers detected fluxes that shouldn't exist. EMF meters fluctuated wildly near some of the voids, mimicking the electrical noise found near thunderstorms or powerful machines. Yet the ranch was far from any power grid or transmission tower. One of the most disturbing discoveries came when a ground team unearthed a metallic object embedded in a limestone wall near a newly scanned void. Roughly fist-sized and smooth as polished steel, the object bore no markings and showed no seams. It was far too modern to be native to the geology surrounding it. Metal was Tests real, were inconclusive, but didn't match any known alloy on Earth's periodic table. It hummed faintly when exposed to light. As the team dug deeper, literally and metaphorically, the question changed from what lies beneath the ranch to what shouldn't lie beneath it. Legends began to coalesce into myth. Old Native American stories, long dismissed as metaphor, were revisited. Tales of sacred ground, of forbidden paths guarded by spirits that whispered in stone. Elders spoke of places where time ran differently, where the stars above mirrored the land below, a perfect cosmic reflection. Blind Frog Ranch, it seemed, was more than a mystery. It was a mirror, a magnet, a memory. A place where geology folded back on itself, where the ground behaved not as passive bedrock, but as a responsive presence. It breathed. It remembered. And the voids, silent, cold, alien, were perhaps not just absences of matter, but presences of intention. As seasons passed, the ranch revealed yet more peculiarities. Lights seen at night with no source, sudden gusts of wind from still air, disorientation and time loss among those exploring the deeper tunnels. Yet for every inch they dug, the ground only grew stranger. Like peeling away the bark of a tree to find it hollow, but not dead. And so, the search for voids became a search for meaning. Not just a quest for treasure or ancient artifacts, but for understanding. A geological enigma wrapped in folklore and bound by forces that science could not yet name. The ranch was a riddle posed by the earth itself, one that refused to be solved, only explored. Some began to wonder if the voids were warnings. Others hoped they were invitations. And perhaps, in the deepest silence of those underground chambers, beneath layers of rock and time, something is still listening. Beneath the jagged hills and desert plains of eastern Utah lies a mystery older than maps, deeper than the dirt, and stranger than fiction. Known as Blind Frog Ranch, this land resists explanation. It beckons explorers, scientists, and thrill-seekers alike, not with promises of wealth or scenery, but with the presence of something missing. A geography not defined by what is there, but by what is not. Voids. Invisible holes in the landscape. Phantom chambers hidden beneath the surface, shifting the rules of natural order. At first glance, Blind Frog Ranch resembles countless other plots scattered across the American West. Windswept, sun-scorched, and deeply isolated, it lies tucked within the Uinta Basin, an area long whispered about in tales of hauntings, UFOs, and ancient curses. But while neighboring Skinwalker Ranch may be more infamous, Blind Frog Ranch harbors its own unsettling energy, one that manifests below ground, in places never meant to be disturbed. The land speaks in subtle ways. Trees grow in distorted patterns near specific coordinates, as if subtly reaching away from something unseen. Rocks fracture in linear directions that defy natural tectonics. Tools break in predictable locations. Compasses lose their bearings. It is in these strange anomalies that the search begins, not for artifacts or relics, but for absences. For the architecture of emptiness. For the voids. This mission is driven not by myth alone, but by technology. The first scans of the ranch's substructure revealed the unexpected. Ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR imagery identified interruptions in the soil, unexplained cavities interrupting layers of sandstone and clay. These were not typical sinkholes or lava tubes. They were geometric. Some bore the symmetry of constructed vaults. Others snaked in organic shapes, too regular to be natural yet too alien to be man-made. The work became systematic. A grid was plotted across the ranch. Instruments were calibrated to detect density changes, magnetic disturbances, and thermal inconsistencies. What emerged was a blueprint of the unknown, pockets of space lying beneath the surface in impossible formations. One chamber appeared to hover within solid rock, completely enclosed, with no geological process capable of forming it. Digging commenced. Shovels met stone. Machinery faltered. In some places, the earth felt denser than normal, repelling excavation attempts. In others, it gave way too easily, as if hollow beneath a paper-thin crust. When one such chamber was accessed, a vault-shaped cavity located beneath a dried-out creek bed, it revealed a space devoid of any expected debris. No fossils, no minerals, no evidence of flooding or collapse. Just smooth walls, sterile air, and a stillness that unsettled even seasoned geologists. Despite the lack of artifacts, the voids carried meaning. Inside them, devices malfunctioned. GPS signals dropped. EMF readings spiked without cause. Radiation levels fluctuated, though no radioactive material was present. These voids were not merely spaces, they were disturbances, interruptions in the flow of energy and matter.